Make yourself at home.
Kia ora, everyone. My name's Paul Goddard, and welcome to our monthly New Zealand webinar. It's great to see you all on here, and I'm joined by my colleagues Paula Arthur and Monique and Sarah Hewitt. We're actually all over the world. Myself and the other Paul are in the UK. Monique's in New Zealand and Sarah's in South Africa. So for those of you who don't know, Working In is a global team. Our main offices are over in New Zealand. I think we've got 23 licensed immigration advisors over there at the moment. Big team of support team as well around that. And we've been helping people like you move to New Zealand for over 20 years now. And what we're going to do in today's webinar is we're actually going to talk about a few things, and you'll be able to see them here. They should be popping up over your screen. We're going to talk about the basic criteria that you need to make or meet to make the move to New Zealand. We're going to talk about something that we're calling employer-led migration. This is going to be really important and quite interesting to quite a few of you. There's been a lot of changes to immigration policy, and the emphasis is very much now on the employer creating a clear way forward for you, rather than you just saying, here I am, aren't I wonderful, give me a job please. It's actually flipped around, and we've flipped the way that we do things so that we can help you do that. I'm going to show you the 4 things or the 4 steps that you need to go through to make a move. We're going to talk about relocation support, the actual move itself, because that's obviously super important. And then you're actually going to be able to engage with us if you want to. There is a chat room. Some of you are in there already. If you can access the chat room, you can type away your questions. We've got my colleague Candy in there. She'll be typing answers to as many questions as she can. Some of our other presenters will be typing away as well if they can when they're there. So enjoy this webinar that is going forward. It's usually around 30 to 40 minutes, and you know, we look forward to giving you a lot of answers and a lot of information. So why is it important that we use a licensed immigration advisor? I'm a licensed immigration advisor, so is Sarah. As I said before, 21 LIAs. That's slightly out of date. I think we've got 23 now. We seem to be adding new advisors all the time. To give immigration advice around New Zealand, you have to be licensed to give immigration advice. So you shouldn't be just taking information or support off somebody who isn't a licensed advisor. And it's even more important now with changes to policy, etc. So we're controlled and regulated by the IIA. Your fees, when you pay fees to us, actually go into a client fund, and this is really important. So when you pay a fee to us, we can only draw down from that fee as we do the work. So you're protected in that way as well. And so big, piece of advice there. If you're going to use an advisor, make sure they're licensed. Otherwise, things could get very sticky for you. And as I pointed out before, I'll just show you our team here. We've got a whole bunch of people. There we are. And what's interesting about the Working In team is I think all of us, or virtually all of us, have moved to New Zealand from somewhere else, So not only are we a team of licensed immigration advisors, we're a team of migrants. We are those skilled people like yourselves who've actually made the move and done it. I lived in New Zealand for almost 18 years, moved there in 2003 with my family. I'm currently in the UK, just because I need to be at the moment, and obviously can hop back to New Zealand at any point, which I will be doing at some point in the future. And I think it's really important that you get people who are helping you, who understand what you're going to go through, because they've been through it themselves. And there's a big team there. It's one of the biggest in the industry, and we're getting some really good results for our clients, which is perfect. So what I'm going to do at the moment is I'm going to introduce you to one of our licensed advisors, who's over in South Africa at the moment. So Sarah is over there, and Sarah's going to run through the basic criteria that you need to be able to make this move? People often say to me, oh, what age do I need to be and how does this work? Sarah's going to go ahead right now and basically explain what the basic criteria is that you need to meet. Hi, Sarah.
Hi everyone. I hope you're well. So as Paul said, there is kind of a few items of basic criteria that you need if you want to emigrate. So the first would be probably one of the most important, which would be age. You do need to be 55 years old or younger. If you want to actually gain residency, that's an important aspect. You need to be able to speak excellent English, both for the employer and for the process. You need to have a certain amount of skilled work experience. This will change depending on your occupation. There are certain occupations that are in shortage, such as trades. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. Trades, engineering, construction, medical field, and teaching. Ideally, you need to have a qualification. This would depend on your age as well, because there are bonus points you can get, and also have no major health or character issues.
Yeah, perfect. And so with that, Sarah, I mean, so the basic criteria, 55 years old or younger, is one of the criteria. Fit and healthy, no major convictions, good skilled experience, ideally a qualification, although sometimes people can still meet the criteria without having a qualification. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. There are ways, some occupations you can have 3 years experience or 5 years. So there are ways of kind of getting around that aspect. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously what we're doing here is we're focusing very much on the skill job-based visas. There are other visas as well, like student visas and business visas and stuff that don't meet the criteria. But the reason we're talking skilled migration is that's what kind of 99% of people move to New Zealand using that. And what about partners of the family? Does the whole family need to meet that criteria, or is it just the main applicant?
No, so just the main applicant needs to meet that criteria. It is said that in December they do want to change the process, in terms of currently the partner would get an open work visa, but they're looking at only partners where the main applicant is earning a certain amount, or on what we call the green list, which is like a shortage list. They say those people will automatically get an open work visa, but that's something that is ongoing and may change. But it's kind of just important to be familiar with that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's, there's been so many changes to immigration policy. I think it's a really good point that you brought up there, Sarah. They have made some of the biggest changes that we've seen in probably 20 years, with, employer accreditation, which I'm going to talk about shortly, and some of these changes around the partnership visa. But I think the key thing that I've noticed through doing this and working through these changes is the government has always said that even with the changes, they want to keep it that there's always a way forward for skilled people who meet the criteria to be able to move, get jobs, and get residence in New Zealand. They're making the changes because they're making them, because they think it'll be better. But there's always New Zealand needs skilled people, is what I'm trying to say, in a roundabout way, and always will. I mean, you know that, and I know that, because we've been there and done it. But New Zealand is built on immigration. It's one of those countries with a small population, and without immigration, employers really struggle to find people. And I think it's really important. But the main criteria, I guess, is getting a job offer, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the big part of it. And I do find with previous clients that quite often their whole group of friends or their family will emigrate, and that is how they often find that job offer. And that's the crux of it. But there's no point finding a job offer unless you can kind of hit all of those aspects as well. A lot of people will come to me and say, oh, I submitted an application, but it was declined. And it's because they haven't been assessed and they didn't meet that criteria. So, yeah, You might have a
Yeah,
job offer, but you don't kind of meet it, then there's no point. Yeah.
yeah, and the big change, which is something that I'm going to talk about shortly, is not only does the person need to meet the criteria, the employer now needs to meet the criteria as well. So thanks, Sarah. Thanks so much. Sarah will be around, obviously, during this call, and I might fire questions off at any of our panelists this evening as I'm talking through things. And Sarah can also be typing in the chat room if you've got access to that as well, Sarah. So that leads very nicely into, as I said before, what we're calling employer-led migration. And I think it's really important that we talk about how this is changing things and has changed things. So the biggest change that we've seen to immigration policy so far is employer accreditation. Okay. From now, every single employer who wants to hire somebody from overseas has to be accredited with the New Zealand government to be able to hire people from overseas. Now, what that actually means in reality is, first of all, they've got to prove that they're a good employer. You know, do they have the right skills? Sorry, not do they have the right skills? Do they have good HR practices? You know, are they paying the right salary? You know, they're not going to go bust next week, and they do genuinely need skilled people, etc. The government's checking that. Now, that bit's quite straightforward if you're a good company, and that's there to protect you as a migrant. You know, here's an employer that's been checked out. That's good. The other thing that they have to do, which has been quite interesting and a bit of a challenge for some employers, is they have to actually get pre-approval for each role that they want to fill. So they can't just say, we're a really good engineering company and we want to hire 20 engineers. You know, that would be too simple. They've got to, if they want to hire 20 engineers, they have to describe each one of those roles and the ideal candidate they want to fill each one of those roles. And that has to get pre-approved as well first before they can do it. Then the employer can go out and try and find the people that match the descriptions that they've put together. Now, this is a complete game changer because previously you could apply to any employer at all in New Zealand. Any employer could offer you a role if it matched your skills and experience. That isn't the case now. They have to have accreditation to be able to offer you the role and get you the visa. And it's kind of reverse engineering the whole process now. So what we're finding is, as a company, we're spending more and more time helping employers get accreditation and be accredited and match with the people that they want to do, you know, that we previously didn't have to do. The good side to this, or the good point to this, is this is the first time ever, I think, you know, certainly since I've known, and I've been doing, you know, immigration visas for around 15 years. This is the first time where we've got a situation where not only have we got employers kind of putting their hands up and saying we're willing to hire people from overseas, they're actually paying and going through a process so that they can hire people from overseas. They need to hire those people from overseas. And we're actually, as a company, we're doing, I think at the moment, around 400 employer accreditation applications for 400 different employers. There's more employers reaching out to us all the time saying, can you help us get accredited? Can you do that? And this is changing the way that you need to look at getting a job offer. Now, I don't know how many of you in the chat room are applying for jobs. Maybe if you are applying for a job, just type yes in the chat room and say, yeah, I'm applying, and let us know how it's going. Because I think I already know the answer. If you just fire a CV off to an employer, it has a very tiny chance of succeeding. It only had a small chance previously before these changes came into play. It's got even less chance now, because the chances are you're going to be firing CVs to employers that aren't accredited, employers that don't even know what accreditation is. You know, an employer needs a clear way forward. They need to know that if they offer you a job, everything is going to run quickly and smoothly. And the reality is your CV doesn't tell the employer what they need to know. Your CV tells the employer that you've got the skills to do the job. It doesn't tell them if, when, and how you're going to get to New Zealand if they offer you a job. And if they're not accredited, they're going to really struggle to move forward, because it certainly doesn't tell them how they're going to get accredited so that they can offer you a job. even if they are accredited, do you actually meet the job that they've got the approval for? Because if you don't, then that might not work either. And so having people like us in the middle who is helping the employer and helping you, there's an obvious advantage to that. And it's more important now than ever. There's some really exciting things that we've got coming down the pipeline. We're talking to employers, we're finding out what roles they need filling, we're helping them get pre-approval on those roles. The next step from there could be us advertising those roles for employers. There is no list of accredited employers at the moment. There's an old list that's gone now, that's still on the internet, but it's not relevant anymore. There's no new list yet of accredited employers. There might not be a list of accredited employers. So how are you even going to find them in the first place? Well, one answer to that is we're talking to them, and we're talking to more and more employers every day. So I think the key point that I want to give around employer-led migration is, a job offer is needed to get a visa, as Sarah just said. Most people realize quite quickly, I can't get a job offer because I haven't got a visa, but I can't get a visa because I haven't got a job offer. It's a catch-22 situation. You need to be able to remove the barriers that stop the employer engaging with you. That is the key to solving that problem. Only an employer can guarantee you a job offer. We can't, no one else can. Only an employer can do that. But what we can do is we can give you the tools to put you in the best position to interact with those employers, and at the same time, remove those barriers that stop you moving forward. And we've got a whole bunch of systems and processes that we've built to be able to do this. We've got some really exciting news. Some of our clients are actually on this call. We're doing a big revamp at the moment of some of our main tools and systems that we're doing, and you're going to see that in the coming weeks. But you need access to people who are talking to employers to be able to help you get that job offer. That's the difference between working in and, say, a traditional visa agency, because we do a lot of work with employers, and so we can help you through that process. So hopefully that's making sense to everyone. I mean, Paul, I just want to bring you in on this. I know you're going to be talking about relocation shortly, but you've been helping people move to New Zealand for even longer than I have. You helped me move to New Zealand. So that thing with employer-led migration, I mean, would you agree with what I was trying to get across there, that it has changed everything?
The whole process has changed completely, and the priority has changed. Yes, you need to have a job before you can move forward, but nowadays what employers need to be absolutely confident about is that if they give you a job, are you eligible? Will you turn up with a visa to work? They don't understand migration. They don't understand. All they know is they have a skill shortage and they need skilled people. So that's why employers really are working in much more so now, because we can carry out an eligibility assessment. We start working with you. We can prepare the visa application to a degree, so we can then give the employer the confidence to move forward, because we genuinely believe that with the suitable job offer, you will get a visa.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so on that note, I'm going to bring in one of my other colleagues who's actually over there in sunny New Zealand, which I believe is around 15 degrees, and it's only 8 o'clock in the morning in New Zealand at the moment. And it's not even summer yet. But I'm going to bring in my colleague Monique, and Monique's going to explain a little bit more about, who are the people that we can help. What is, Monique, what do we look for in an ideal sort of client candidate, somebody who we can help make the move?
Okay, thanks, Paul. Hello, everyone. Good morning from me. Well, ideal skills, Sarah has already mentioned, if you have an occupation that is in the IT, infrastructure, maybe education, healthcare, hospitality, finance, and with matching qualifications and at least 2 years of experience, we can help you. But please don't be disheartened if your occupation is not on that list I just mentioned. If it's still a very in-demand skill that you have, It may just mean it may take a little bit longer for you to come to New Zealand. Now, Sarah also mentioned English. If English is not your first language, if you come from a country where English is not generally spoken, please make sure you do understand, have a good comprehension of the English language. For a couple of $100, you can sit in IELTS or another English language test, put that on your CV. It is money worth spending. An employer definitely wants to see that you can engage in good conversation and good written and oral English language skills. Very important. Now, also, please do not underestimate the cost of immigration. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. Immigration is not cheap. There are going to be fees. I'm not going to talk exactly the amount today, but there are fees to the New Zealand government for your visa. There's going to be a police background check. There's going to be a healthcare check. And if you want to engage the services of an immigration company like ours, there will be a fee there as well. What I can tell you right now is that fee is not payable all at once. You can pay it in installments. In fact, the majority of your fee won't be payable until you have a job offer. But then on the other hand, you also need a sense of adventure. And sometimes I think, what is the emotional cost if you don't do this? A lot of people have been thinking about this for years, been dreaming about it for years, and have actually never had the guts, I would say, to actually put your stake in the ground and start this. This is a really good place to start. The emotional toll of, life is full of what ifs or if onlys. So I would say just go for it and see where it gets you. I think that's really it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, Monique. And I think it's very important. There's the meeting the criteria, the immigration criteria. You've got to tick those boxes.
Yeah.
But there is definitely the emotional side of the move, having the right attitude towards the move, being willing to do whatever it takes, having a positive attitude, not really minding too much when an employer doesn't respond or doesn't get back to you, because guess what? Employers don't respond to New Zealanders either. It's not just because you're overseas. Getting a job offer is rarely easy wherever you are. And it's just about staying positive, moving forward, and having people around you, I think, who've done it before is really important, and having people who can remove the risks and maximize the opportunities, and having a clear way forward, I think, is really important as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Preparation is key. You need to have a plan, and it takes time. Immigration does take time. Be patient. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, absolutely. And that leads perfectly, Monique. Thanks for a perfect segue there into what are the 4 steps you need to take to make a move to New Zealand. I go on about this a lot with everyone I speak to, because it's so important. Knowing where to start is often the most difficult part. Can't get a visa because I haven't got a job. Can't get a job because I haven't got a visa. What do I even do? How do I even do this? You start by thinking of the move in 4 steps. Very easy to understand. Get ready, get a job, get a visa, get on a plane, right? It sounds really simple, but it's not. Getting ready for the move. I'm going to give some people on here some really good tips in this call today. Getting ready for the move doesn't mean just reading about New Zealand, or maybe visiting New Zealand, or knowing somebody in New Zealand, or watching Lord of the Rings. That doesn't mean that you're ready to move to New Zealand, okay? Until you're ready, you might feel like you're ready, but it's you need to do a lot more. To be ready for the move, you've got to be 3 things. Information ready, which means having the information about your move to New Zealand, not somebody else's move. Document ready, which means having the paperwork that you're going to need to get visas in place as much as possible before you start talking to employers, ideally. Because the 3rd thing is you've got to be able to prove to any potential employer that you're fully prepared, ready to go, everything's in place, and if they offer you a job, it's all going to run quickly and smoothly. Because just like you need a clear way forward, the employer needs a clear way forward too. And the reason most employers don't respond to people is a CV doesn't give them a clear way forward. Okay, and that's so important. Getting the job offer, I've touched on this previously. It's what we call employment support. We don't go out and get jobs for people. You know, that's not what we're here for. We provide employment support to put you in the best position to interact with employers, because as skilled people watching this webinar tonight, you know better than anyone what you do and where you want to do it and how you want to do it. You are the experts in your roles. We're there to enhance your skills in engaging with employers and remove the barriers that stop the employer engaging with you. And there's multiple ways that we can do this that I'm not going to go into detail as the call. If you want our help, then absolutely we can do that for you, and we will. But you've got to think about where the jobs are. They're online, they're with recruitment agents, they're hidden, which means word of mouth, or they're potentially available if you hop on a plane and try and fly to New Zealand and get a job offer that way. You need to know how these things work. You need to know how to tap into these jobs. We've got tools and systems and processes in place that can help you do that. If you're sitting on this call tonight and you're randomly firing off your CV to employers in New Zealand and it's not working, then you have to ask yourself a very simple question. If you keep doing what you're doing, are you going to keep getting the same result? And the answer is yes, for most of you. You need to do something differently. You need to approach it differently because the system has changed, the process has changed, and that's what we're here for. And when it comes to the visas, Sarah touched on this a little bit. Again, I'm not going to go into details around how visas work, etc., because that's why you use people like us. We can do all that for you. But essentially, you'll get a job offer, you'll get a work visa that can be issued very quickly, usually within about 6 weeks. And for most of you, at the same time or shortly afterwards, you'll also be able to lodge your residence visa that allows you to stay in New Zealand. So you get the job offer, that unlocks the visas. You get a visa that's issued quickly for 3 years under the new rules, but you have the peace of mind that your residence is coming through in the background. We do all that for our clients. We, do the applications, liaise with the government, etc. And then getting on a plane and getting over to New Zealand. A lot of people leave all that as an afterthought, but actually it's one of the first things that you should think about. You should be thinking about this as step one, preparing for the move, looking at flights, looking at shipping. And that leads nicely into my friend Paula Arthur, who's over here in the UK with me at the moment. And Paul's going to give you a bit of a talk on what we do and how we assist with relocating our clients to New Zealand once they've gone through the 4 steps and made the move.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. As Paul said before, I've been helping people move to New Zealand now for over 20 years. And we understand, all of us at Working understand, it's a big thing you're doing. It's a big move. And because it is so big, it needs careful planning. My role in the company is to provide advice, guidance, and assistance for working in clients throughout the whole process. We work with a range of specialist companies who are experts in a whole range of different services who you can use with confidence if you want to. They'll not only get you to New Zealand safely and smoothly with minimal hassle, but when you get there, we'll actually help you to get settled. And the key thing for you is to be able to settle quickly. If you have children, get them into school, and being in a position to start work. The employer wants you to start work on time, have no worries, have no hassle, so you can be a real benefit to his business. We can help with opening a bank account with a New Zealand bank. Now, this is something you really ought to do before you leave to go to New Zealand. It's good because you'll have a bank account number. You can give it to your new employer. You can get on the payroll. So when you start work, you can actually get paid. You need to get a tax number with the Inland Revenue in New Zealand. You need a bank account before you can do that. We can arrange for that to happen for you. There's no problems at all. We also help you get the best exchange rate. So when you come to move money to New Zealand or buy New Zealand dollars, generally speaking, banks aren't going to give you the best rates. What we've done is use our buying power to work with specialist currency brokers who will give you commercial exchange rates. We've got tax specialists. So if you're keeping a home in the UK or overseas and you're going to move to New Zealand or you're going to rent it out, you need to take some tax advice just to make sure you're not paying more tax than you need to. Again, we can arrange it. Once you're going for residence and you've got residence, you might decide to transfer your pensions to New Zealand. In many ways, there's lots of tax benefits for doing it. Again, we can arrange that. One of the first things you need to think about in your planning, and Paul touched on this preparation point, and that's the key thing we'd all like to say to you, which is preparing. A lot of people we help have got dogs and cats, and that's fine. There's no problems with taking them to New Zealand, but, and the but is, you have to start the process at least 6 or 7 months before you think you will be moving. The pets need to be vaccinated, they need to be boosted, they need to be tested, then they need to be 6 months clear before you can fly them. So really, as Paul was saying, as soon as you start the process with working in, he'll suggest you come and talk to me. And I will have a conversation, find out just what you need, what help we can give you. We've got specialist pet shippers who are really excellent, and they'll talk to you straight away. They'll tell you what you need to do with your vets. We will then be able to liaise, with them to make sure you've got your quotes and everything else. They organise quarantine for the pets in New Zealand, and then onward delivery to wherever you happen to be living. We organise removals, whether it's a single box or a complete home or a motor vehicle, motor car, motorbike. We can arrange all this. We've got flight specialists. There are different times of the year when it is much more expensive to fly to New Zealand. Anything from sort of mid-November onwards tends to start getting more expensive. December particularly so. Our flight specialists can give you that information at an early stage. They're specialist migration flight experts, so they often can get deals with airlines. Sometimes they can even get you an enhanced weight allowance, which is something you wouldn't be able to do yourself. So that's how we sort of get you organized to get there. And then once you're there, we can help you organize property, source cars, insurance, mobile phones.
Everything. So, Paul, sorry for interjecting there because it just popped into my.
I talk too much. Sorry.
We can help people from most countries, can't we? Even if our partners aren't in that country, we might know other people who can help and things like that as well.
Yeah, it's we can help people from most parts of the world with most services. And where we haven't got a specific partner we work with, we're members of lots of associations which give people confidence. They're the specialist international moving associations, the specialist pet shippers. So we would actually connect you to the association direct, and then you could obviously work out which is the most suitable or local company for you to use.
Yeah, and I think what some people as well don't realize is, like I say, most people leave things like flights, etc., right till the end. Once they've got a job and a visa, getting that information at the start is going to help people plan and budget for the move, isn't it? Knowing what it's going to cost to ship your goods and book a flight and ship the pets and do those things. It's really important to do that, before you even get the job offer.
Absolutely, because once that job offer comes through, as Paul was saying before, then the pressure's really on. You've really got lots to do and not a lot of time to do it. So once you sort of become a client of Working In, then obviously I'll get involved and we can start talking together. We can connect you to the movers, for example, if you need to get quotes. Do we take the full contents of our home? How much is the car going to cost? Then we'll connect them to you and they'll talk to you and give you a variety of quotes and give you information and advice to help you make the right decision for you.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for that, Paul. It's always a pleasure to see you on here. And, I think hopefully people are finding that we're giving some information here that's very easy to understand and hopefully making sense, because it is all about creating a clear path forward. And on that note, I want to sort of now touch on, as we're getting towards the end of the webinar. I can't believe it's been nearly 40 minutes already. It seems to have flown by. But what to do next. How do you make this work? Okay, there's a lot of people here. I can see you all typing in the chat room up there. You know, we've got electrical engineers, we've got all sorts of skills and architects and everything else. This is great. And you're obviously keen because you're on this webinar. You want to move forward. So the way that you do that is the first thing that we do for our clients. So people who actually are 100% committed and really want to do this. We do something that we call My Visa Path, and it's kind of self-explanatory. It is your visa path to New Zealand. We're creating a pathway forward for you. And what this involves is us getting all the information that we need about you and your family and what you're trying to do, applying that to current immigration policy, not policy that was 2 years ago or anything else, and then generating a report from our team of licensed advisors that actually outlines your journey to New Zealand. So you get a report and it confirms your visa options, and it confirms if you can get residence and the points you can claim and all the other things that are really important. But one of the most important parts about My Visa Path is it also allows you to get a full consultation with myself or Sarah if you're in South Africa. We know we've got a lot of people on the call tonight in South Africa. Sarah's based in South Africa. So people in the UK or Europe, etc., you'll probably be talking to me. If you're in South Africa, you're going to be talking to Sarah. And what we do, myself and Sarah, is if we're having a call with you, we take that report and we use it as a blueprint to outline your journey to New Zealand. And what we talk about in that call is the steps that you're going to take, the hurdles you're facing, how to overcome those hurdles, how to get a job offer in New Zealand, the timeframes involved, the costs involved, answering all the questions you've got. At the end of that call, at the end of that consultation, the aim is that you've got all the answers to all your questions and you've got a clear way forward, because it's only by having the answers to your questions and a clear way forward that applies to you and only you and your move that you're then in a position to make decisions.
Yeah.
Your alternative to this is spinning round and round in circles on the internet, because the internet isn't personalized. It's not about you and your move. It's just pages of information. So the My Visa Path full assessment and consultation is massively, massively important. We charge 299 New Zealand dollars. That includes the assessment, the report, and the consultation and the follow-up. Okay, there's a lot of work that goes into that, with the money and time and effort you're going to spend on making a move to New Zealand. That $299 should be an absolute no-brainer. Basically, it's a small investment to put you on track. But we're not going to ask anyone to do that today. If you want to, of course you can. You know, it's there, and we've got it on our website. It's called myvisapath.co.nz if you want to take a look at that. But what we are saying to everyone today is, if you've found what we've talked about useful and you do want to explore your options further, then we've got a very good option for you. We've got a free appraisal. Okay, so there's going to be a link. We will be emailing it to you, I believe, after the call. I think we're going to put it up in the chat as well now. This is a web link. You click on this link, it will take you to the page that you can see now. You can enter the details that we need to look at your basic criteria. This isn't a full assessment and consultation and report. It's a free appraisal, but it's a great first step if you're not sure. You just want to know, can you do it? We only offer to help people we can help. And what I mean by that is people that meet immigration criteria, people that, you know, can speak good English, have got a really good chance of getting a job offer, etc. This free appraisal form will help us take a look at you and what you're trying to do and the skills that you've got. And then if it looks good, we'll invite you to actually take the My Visa Path option and move forward from there. So this is a free step. There is no cost at all to this. There is no risk to this. Okay. If you do one thing and one thing only this week and you want to move to New Zealand, fill out the free appraisal. You've got everything to gain, nothing to lose. So in summary, from today's call, if you want to move to New Zealand, there are steps that you can take. There is a path that you can follow. Immigration policy has changed. You need to change and adapt with it to make sure that you put yourself in the best position to get a job offer with an accredited employer. And you need to minimize your risks maximize your opportunities. That's what we do all day long, every day, for hundreds and hundreds of clients. And we're more than happy to help anybody on here who is serious about making the move and moving forward. And I think to finalize, one other thing that we do want to talk about is, you know, New Zealand itself. You know, everyone moves to New Zealand for different reasons. You know, there's things that push you away from your own country and attract you to New Zealand, but most people move to New Zealand for a lifestyle. So as we're winding up today, I thought it'd be great if the guys and myself here could just, you know, give our own thoughts on what it's actually like to live in New Zealand. So I'm going to show some pictures while we're talking. These are actually staff members working in, doing what we do, or doing what they do at weekends, or what I used to do when I was over in New Zealand. I certainly don't go swimming in the sea in the UK. That's definitely not going to happen. But I used to love doing that in New Zealand and can't wait to do it again. But I guess, you know, Monique, you're a perfect person to talk about this. You're sitting there in Auckland right now. As we said before, 15 degrees at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's not even summer yet. You know, what's
This is
your
cold for
summary?
us.
Exactly.
Oh,
What's
I
your
just love
summary?
the outdoor lifestyle here that New Zealand has to offer. The great work-life balance. You know, just last weekend was a beautiful, beautiful sunny Sunday. We were out on the boat swimming with the dolphins. It's just magical. It's a great place to live.
Yeah,
And
and it's
we're
so
all, you know, here, as Paul mentioned, a lot of us are migrants. We're all really passionate about to help you and to listen to your story. And we hope to see you on the other side. Come down under.
absolutely. And Sarah, you know, what are your thoughts around, you know, emigrating and living in a different country, and the sort of way that it changes your life, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously not living in New Zealand. I'm living in South Africa, in Cape Town, but I emigrated from the UK. And, you know, it's a similar lifestyle, I would say, to the pictures that you're showing, you know, you're showing there. And I think, especially those people in the UK, if you want to go for a much better climate, a better work-life balance, you know, sitting in the afternoon in your garden or balcony with a glass of wine, it's you know, it's that type of environment rather than sitting in the dark on Netflix. So I would say
Absolutely,
Spot on.
you know,
absolutely. I
children
think,
outside playing, you know, instead of sitting on the computers all day in the dark, in the rain. You know, people in the UK will understand what I'm talking about. So yeah.
yeah, it's so true. And I think people often say to me, you know, what's it like to live in New Zealand? And I always turn around and say the same thing. I just say it's easier. You know, it's easier because there's less people. It's easier because the weather's nice and mild. It's not too hot and it's not too cold. There's no snakes, crocodiles, spiders, etc. that that can kill you. And it's one of the easiest countries in the world, I think, to settle in. And I think a lot of that is because most people who live in New Zealand have actually moved to New Zealand and done it quite recently. It's the youngest country in the world. It's the last country to have humans on it, you know. And I think there is that sense of when you live in New Zealand that you are quite lucky to be able to do it. I know I certainly felt privileged to be able to do it, and not everyone can. And I think it's an important message that if you want this great lifestyle, you're going to have to work for it. You're going to have to do work to get this lifestyle that you want. No one is going to wave a magic wand and make this happen for you. You know, we're here to help you, and we'll take you through this process. And we've done it for thousands of people over the years, and we'll keep doing it. But you've got to be 100% committed. You'll never be 100% certain. You've just got to be 100% committed, have help and support around you, minimize the risk, maximize the opportunities, follow a clear path. Then you're putting yourself in a much better position. So I do want to wrap up and say thank you, obviously, to all my panelists from all over the world, which is great. Say a big thank you to all of you who are on this webinar. We have overrun slightly by about 5 minutes or so. So appreciate you all still being there. We would like to help any of you who are serious about making this move within the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. That's the kind of time frame that we're looking at for most people. So if you are serious and you like what you've seen today or like what you've heard, then just fill out the free appraisal form. The link is up there in the chat room. Fill that out. It'll take you 5 minutes and we'll get your information. It'll take a few days or so and then we'll get back to you. And who knows, you might be on that journey to New Zealand and we might actually see you over there at some point. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Monique. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, pleasure.
Thank you, Theo, back in our office for doing the webinar, and Candy for answering questions there. We will be back online again next month with some more updates and information. So thank you all, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, good luck.